All right, one of our friends of the program hit us up from Las Vegas, and he said, when are we going to admit moving around ranked wins is illogical and inconsistent for college football? And he gave a bunch of examples. And really the message is, when are we going to talk about the playoff committee's inconsistency? And the answer is every single day for the rest of the year on this show. I kid a little bit. It's a mess. I know it's a mess. You know it's a mess. Anyone who watched the playoff selection show Tuesday night, if you didn't know before, now you know. It's a mess. I thought it was a disaster of a show. Well produced. The in-studio talent, well, they were at Madison Square Garden that night, but those guys did great. Reese Davis asked the best questions I've heard asked. The answers he got left a lot to be desired. So, like, for example, what you're talking about there now is there are people out there who are trying to conveniently give credit to Oregon for beating Penn State because Penn State was a different team then than they are now, which I agree with. But then they're not giving credit to other teams. So it's almost like they've got the rankings the way they want them. And then after they're set, then they like reverse engineer logic conveniently and, like selectively. And if it looks that way, it's because that's how it is. So I don't want to rehash all this. It's a few days old now. There were so many terrible examples. There was so much inconsistency and misapplied logic presented by Hunter Yurachek the other night, who is the playoff committee chair, new playoff committee chair, we could do a whole show on it. I was blown away. It's the worst I've ever seen playoff rankings explained, to the point where I've never really talked about this on the show before, but I think they should just admit the dirty secret and lean into it. The dirty secret is, and lean in, I know this is going to shock a lot of you, those people don't watch all the college football games, nor do they really need to because they're not ranking the teams. What's happened every year on the committee, what's happened is there's been theater and there's been presentation and performance and we're going to gather in Grapevine, Texas, and we're going to lock all these people in a room and then we're going to tell you that they're deliberating like jurors and then they're going to come out with their verdict in the form of playoff rankings every Tuesday night. And then we're going to pretend like we're not getting them into our hand until right when we flash them on the screen. And 90% of that's BS. What really happens is there's a preset computer model that pumps those teams out and it spits it out and 98% of the work's done. And at that point, if they want to manually adjust here or there, that's the extent of the involvement with that committee. That's really what's happening here. The problem is, for quite a while, they did an okay job of pretending. So the theater of the mind, I was willing to buy into. It's kind of known behind the scenes how this really works. But now that they suck so bad at pretending they're the ones ranking the teams, they need to just admit what's really going on. That's what they really need to do. Because really, if I was wrong about that, their rankings would look a whole lot different than the old BCS rankings. But we still have access to the BCS formula. So every week, there are several Twitter accounts. If you don't believe me, go find them, that spit out what the BCS rankings would have been. Magically, the playoff committee rankings look strikingly similar to the BCS rankings. It's because they didn't tinker with the formula all that much. We'll get back to the video 1 second. Do me one quick favor, look down. Make sure you're subscribed. Most of you are. If you're not, please do so. It's the way we keep the channel free, we keep the videos coming, and we get to do college football year-round as God intended. All right, as promised, back to the video. They just built this new presentation around it. They built this new illusion around it, and they built a committee. And all the committee does is go down there and eat crackers behind a closed door, have them probably take a nap, and then they show up Tuesday, and they're probably wearing shorts from the waist down, but a suit and tie from the waist up, and they pretend like they ranked the teams and they watched all the games. Really what they did is they got some rankings spat out in their lap, and then they kind of have to explain it in a way that makes it look like they're their rankings. That only works if you're good at explaining it. But if you suck at explaining it, you need to just drop the act and you need to say, this is what the computer gave us. I'd take that at this point over what we heard with like the Notre Dame-Bama argument the other night. I mean, I got no problem if the computer spits out Notre Dame over Alabama, which as far as I could tell, it would have. That's not the problem. The problem is 99% of the country is unaware of your procedure. So they really do think you're ranking these teams. And when you come out and you start talking about stupidity like, oh, how many rushing yards does Alabama really have in some of these games? Or you're talking about comparing losses when it comes to Notre Dame and Miami, even though one of Notre Dame's losses is to Miami. And I'm looking at a lot of people who, frankly, I respect, but they're making such anecdotal arguments. And me knowing full well if I did nothing but keep the resumes the same but switch the logos, they'd make the exact opposite argument. I can't stand that. And I was looking at when they were doing the Alabama-Notre Dame comparison the other night, and they keep bringing up the Florida State loss. And I got no problem with you bringing up the Florida State loss. It was a terrible loss. But when I watch Bama go beat Georgia, in my mind, it doesn't cancel, it balances out that Florida State loss. A great win should have the same effect on your resume that a bad loss has. But then that's not where Bama's resume is done. They got to win over Vandy, and they got to win over Missouri on the road. Then they got to win over Tennessee. So they've more than balanced that out. And then they go lose to Oklahoma at home. That's a competitive loss against the top 15 team, which brings them to the exact same record Notre Dame has. And then I start getting offensive numbers thrown in my face. And I just want to remind you guys, like if you want to throw stats out, these are the total defenses Notre Dame's faced. 111, 123, 129, 132, 107. Oh, by the way, they're going to wrap up with 125 and 104. I don't care about it, but since you're making these like half-cocked arguments, I'll give you some in return. So just be honest about the process. That's what I'd love to see. Reminder, actually, I haven't told you about this yet. I think I told you once a little while ago. FanDuel's the exclusive odds provider of the show. Everyone knows that. But you need to know, our friends in Missouri specifically, like you're watching Missouri football here, you're coming down the stretch, you guys are about to have FanDuel in your state. I have to let you in on a little secret. If you pre-register before December 1st, because that's when it goes live in Missouri, if you pre-register, which you can do right now at FanDuel if you're a resident of the state of Missouri, that first day it's open. If you bet $5, it doesn't even matter if you lose. If you bet $5, they're putting $400 in bonus bets in your account. That is significant. Do the numbers, guys. That's significant. So if you live in Missouri and you're going to be registering on FanDuel anyway, go do it now. FanDuel.com/Josh Pate. Go sign up now in the pre-sign-up period and get your $400. Doesn't even matter if you lose. Bet Missouri loses, God forbid. Still get your $400.